Cayman,
Yeah.
why don't we talk a little bit about the news? We have a few stories we're going to talk about.
Sure.
And the first one, a game that we both liked a lot this year, but not one that I think is going to go down as like one of our favorites of all time. I don't think I'm out of turn when I say that.
No, not at
Right.
all.
Guerilla Games, who they're the ones who have made the Horizon series, Horizon Zero Dawn, then Forbidden West. Last week we talked about the upcoming DLC coming in April of next year, Burning Shores, where we go to Los Angeles with Aloy. So an interesting thing. So I'm pulling from Tom Ivan at VGC here. Essentially, we kind of know what they're doing next because they kind of told us in like a really no pomp and circumstance way, which like I kind of fuck with. But so this is Tom at VGC. He writes, Guerrilla Games has confirmed it's working on an online project set in the Horizon universe. The studio has uploaded 17 job positions for a new, quote, online project, with several of the descriptions confirming that it's a Horizon game as spotted by content creator Joe Raptor. Quote, Guerrilla is looking for a lead world designer to bring the expanding Horizon universe to a multiplayer audience, end quote, reads an advert for a lead world designer role. Another job ad reads, quote, Guerrilla is looking for an experienced and passionate senior combat designer to help create a variety of machine enemies that are spectacular, challenging, and memorable to fight cooperatively, end quote. Guerrilla has long planned to expand Horizon into multiplayer, VGC understands. Sources previously said that co-op was initially planned for the first Horizon game, but was ultimately scrapped so that the development team could focus on other areas of the title. They said Sony has also been keen to include co-op in this year's series entry, Horizon Forbidden West, but Guerrilla decided to save the feature for the future project, which they believed would either be a standalone online spinoff or Horizon 3. We're also next year for PSVR 2, launching in February 2023, getting Horizon Call of the Mountain, which is kind of its own standalone experience in the Horizon world. But Cayman, so my question to you, the story actually, I didn't proofread this story. There's more to this that this story didn't mention. Let me see. I still have the story pulled up in my browser. Because I had sent it to you. I had sent you a tweet that read, Guerrilla has confirmed that it's working on a multiplayer game set in the Horizon universe and that it will feature a brand new cast and characters with a new art style. So that Tom didn't mention that in the so I'm wondering if maybe that's either been debunked or maybe I missed it in the story. I don't know. But so all that, so that little extra color added on, let's say. What do you think about this? Like, do you think this is because earlier this year, we've talked about how PlayStation Studios, they acquired Destiny, and one of the main, not Destiny, they acquired Bungie, who makes Destiny. And one of the main reasons they acquired Bungie was to learn about their online game mechanics and how to succeed with online game business strategy, because it's something that PlayStation has struggled with at the first party level.
Yeah.
Do you think this is just like the next kind of evolution of that, or like where's your head at with this announcement of an online only Horizon game?
So it is interesting to me, right? I don't know. I feel torn because I think one of the problems I run into with this in particular is like, how does this fit within the Horizon ecosphere, right?
Sure.
The games obviously you always play normally plays one person. And it's very much about like setting traps and like kind of working around that and like basically using all of the tools in your arsenal to be able to take on these big old monster, big old robot,
big old dinos, robo
dinos, right? Now there's games that I think it could pull from in terms of like what we could experience. It could be something like Monster Hunter, which would
team
be
up with some pals, take down a Thunderjaw.
Yeah, like that would be super cool. But then part of me worries that I fucking hate Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
So like, look, I think there's an entire audience for Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter is just not for me.
Yeah.
Just don't really vibe with those games. I tried really hard. I tried super hard when they released what was it? The first one that ever came to PlayStation.
Monster Hunter World.
There you go, yeah. And so I tried really hard. I put about 30 hours into that game, and I was just terrible. I just couldn't figure it out. I couldn't I couldn't get into it. So I guess if they dumbed it down a little bit, or if they weren't just so expecting to be like, hey, you need to understand what Monster Hunter is. If they were to gradually introduce you and like really handhold me into it so I got good at it, then like I could see that being something. So I think they could do something similar to the way they do with Monster Hunter. It is interesting because in an open world environment like that, like it makes you wonder, like, are they going to do more like Destiny where you don't have just like a full open world that takes 2 hours to go from point A to point B to get through, right?
Sure.
So is it going to be more like Destiny where it's like, hey, here's a biome and you're going to be dumped in with your friends and whatnot, and you're going to play through this biome, and that's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
But I do think, going back to your point, though, I do think that this very much is like Sony wants to have a games as a service that keeps people coming because of this one thing, keeps them involved in this one thing, and I think
Yeah.
that's totally fine.
Because we know, I mean, earlier this year, Naughty Dog announced that they're working on, or they kind of like tease a little bit, like they're working on a multiplayer project in the world of
Mhm.
The Last of Us. So I assume that's going to be online only. You know, they didn't necessarily say if it's going to be online only, or multiplayer only. But I mean, I think it probably makes sense that they're going to start kind of slowly putting, their franchises, the ones that make sense.
Yeah.
And so, friend of the show, Kayla in the chat. Hey, Kayla, how you doing? She says, I think it would be good depending on what angle they come from. Example, what kind of gameplay, things like that. Yeah, I think those are really important questions. Like,
Yeah.
is this going to be like? I think the Monster Hunter analogy makes sense. I think they would probably spin it a little bit and make it probably like a little more story driven and a little more not as rote in a way.
Mm.
That's dismissive of Monster Hunter, but I could see a world in which like there's like a half PvE, half PvP kind of world where like you can fight other, because like Horizon's very tribal. Like there's a lot of the different
Like you
tribes. Like
start the game off and you start in a tribe, like
maybe
you
you
pick
pick
your
a
tribe.
tribe
Yeah.
and you can do like PvP or fight big thunder jaws or whatever. But here's a thing that I think is interesting is that unless they put it in a new part of the world that we've never been to before, we know because we've experienced as Aloy, one person can take down anything in this world.
Yeah.
So for it to be a co-op game, they would have to either introduce more like bigger robo dinos. They'd have to make us weaker. I don't know what it would have to be, but
We're going back in time, baby.
ooh, to the beginning.
Pre Aloy, we go back. It doesn't have to be in the beginning. We could go back where we end up in a situation where it's like you're getting like early years of like the tribes, right? The tribes are all built out. This is
Sure.
100 years before Aloy. My thing is, this is what I've always said. Look, this is the same team that made fucking Killzone, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Give me a game set during the apocalypse. Like, give me that game. Let me be a soldier fighting the
Ooh, like
rise.
as
Like, we know we're gonna lose. You know the eventuality is you're gonna lose, but like, could you imagine being able to like you're not using these instruments of war that Aloy
like a
uses?
you're like a little rebel outfit trying to take down Ted Faro, destroying the world with his monster robots. That's
Yeah,
actually kind
I
of a
fuck
fucking
with
cool
that.
idea.
I fuck with that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and I think the last thing I want to touch on is just the comment about the change in art direction. That's, I think, the one thing that throws me the most
Sure.
is I just don't. What does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? Like, is it much more cartoony? Is it just like, yeah, I'd be interested to see what that means. And if by the time we see this in a revealed capacity, will the art style have changed? I kind of feel like it won't. I feel like it'll probably stick
Or
with.
what if maybe what if it's just a shittily worded, like like the rumor is, and the rumor, as you know, we all grew up playing telephone, comes down a couple times, changes up. What if it's not a change in art direction? What if it's just a change in like it's gonna look the same, but instead of it being third person, you're now FPS.
Ooh, yeah, like a change in gameplay style.
Yeah, so I mean, you can
Maybe.
still do it. Like, I mean, Dying Lights, I think, like a great example of how you can still do parkour really well in the first person.
Or maybe they go the Skyrim Fallout route where you can pick first person or third person.
Dude, that'd be dope as shit.
Maybe.
Because let's be
Kayla,
honest, this game suck when you play in third person. You can only play those in first person.
I always play in third person, actually.
Really?
Yeah,
How?
yeah. I like seeing my character.
See,
Uh,
I think like factions, like the Last of Us factions, could work in an open world if you did it like the Division, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
works for me. This makes no sense. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but
Yeah.
I
Kayla, another question. Good question. Well, do you think it's going to be free to play or pay? Do you think maybe a DLC? I don't think it would be a DLC situation personally, but I think I'm super interested to see if The Last of Us Factions releases as a full $60-$70 title, or if they go the free to play route and monetize it within the game. Like, I think depending on how The Last of Us does it, I would be willing to bet, though, if I were to put money on it, I would say this and The Last of Us Factions are full priced games, and uh, you buy in up front instead of it being. I'm sure they're still going to monetize it somehow
sure.
within, but I would think that this is probably going to be a full.
Is it
Uh,
is it bad of me that I'm like, please don't be free to play, please don't be free to play, please don't be free to play? Because
I don't think it's bad of you. I think we've just you and I we don't play a ton of multiplayer games,
fair.
and I think your Overwatch 2s, your Apexes, like it seems, I mean, Kayla would know. Kayla, as she says here, first person is the best. She plays a bunch of those. Like she's a big Overwatch, she's a big Apex fan. Those games seem to have figured it out. Whereas a lot of the free to play games I've played haven't figured it out. Where a lot of the time I hit those kind of pain points of whether the monetization is like holding me back or making it feel like I don't want to necessarily buy in. So just kind of, I think it'll kind of depend on how they would do that monetization of it. But
That's
yeah, I
fair.
don't know.
I mean, I was talking to Sid. She, she's a big DBD girl now. That's her like favorite game of all time, apparently. And I was like, look, when this game still, if you don't have like, you can get on Game Pass, and I think you can get on PlayStation Plus maybe. But like before that, you would have to pay like 30, 40, $50 to play this game. And
Yeah.
then you get like 4 characters and like 4 killers. And then there's now like $3,000 worth of shit. And like that doesn't fly with me.
Yeah, no way.
That fucking sucks.
Yeah. But like looking at like Fortnite as an example, that they make it to where really all you pay for is, and Kayla, correct me if I'm wrong, because you've played more Fortnite than me. But you really only pay for uh like different characters so you look different. Like you don't pay anything to be better at the game or
Sure.
get more
Yeah. No,
like
and that's how DBD is.
yeah. So I would assume that if they monetize it, they go that route where you can
Yeah.
make
All
it to where
cosmetics.
yeah, that's the word. I kept like stumbling through my words because I was trying to find the word cosmetic. Um, I would be surprised if they do anything like on the pay to win side of
Yeah.
like that some yeah. She says yes, you only pay for flare items in Fortnite, right? So I would assume they might go that route. But because yeah, I feel like PlayStation first party compared to Xbox, where a lot of the games that everything that they make first party when they make them is on Game Pass. PlayStation, they're going to charge $70, and they've said before, like we couldn't afford to go the Game Pass route. So that's also kind of part of the why that I think that this is going to be like a full paid title because of the way that PlayStation, their business model seems to be. We're going to charge you $70 or whatever the fair price is. Sometimes it's 40 like Stray, sometimes it's 20 like Inscription. Whatever that price is, we're going to charge you for it. But they seem to be down that. But I don't know. We'll see. I assume we probably won't hear about this for at least a year. I would think maybe we get some sort of like a teaser next year. But I think since this was just like a job posting, we probably don't hear about this for a while. We'll
Sure.
probably get like a teaser. Well, since we just got the Burning Shores DLC announcement, we actually probably won't see any other Horizon
Nah,
for a while.
I doubt we'll see anything until probably 2024.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet is
Yeah.
2024.
Yeah.